welcome back to the Coach Steve Show podcast. Today's guest sitting down with us is Coach Oakley. He is the offensive line coach at Shenandoah University. See how I screwed it up? Coach, thanks for coming on the podcast today.
Hey, really appreciate it. These things are really fun. I'm enjoying talking ball and everything else just on these down times.
Yeah, and again, I apologize to Coach. People that know I don't have a script. I just off the cuff. So whatever happens, happens. That's how we roll on the show. Now, what level is Shenandoah University? What level of football is that?
Division III, non-scholarship. Yep, and we're in the ODAC, the Old Dominion Athletic Conference.
I wanted to say Division III. I was 98% sure it was Division III, but I had a coach from St. Xavier University up here in the burbs. They're NAIA, and for some reason I got them mixed up. And I said, "Oh yeah, isn't that Division III?" And they go, "No, it's NAIA." And I was like, "Oh, Steve, you dumbass."
Well, it's not. I mean, we're in Northern Virginia. If you draw a circle, maybe 100 miles, we've got Shippensburg, we've got Salisbury, we've got Shepherd, all SUs. So there's plenty, and they're all different levels and stuff like that.
Yeah, I told him. I said, I think it was the SU that screwed me up because I know some school out there has that, and it was Division III. Now they forgave me. It was the offense coordinator. He forgave me. He was like, "No, I got it. I got you." But I was like, "Oh, what an idiot!" And that was like the very beginning. I was like, "Oh, this is bad."
It's a good start.
That's what I say. I was 98, 99% sure. I was like, I know you guys are Division III, but I want to make sure.
Yep.
So you told me earlier you're a PE teacher too, but you also coach at a Division III university. How does that work when you're a teacher and not maybe a staff member, like a full-time staff member at a college? Like, how do you balance that? How does that work? Is it just like not like being a high school coach where you teach and then go to practice? Is it like that, or is it just that way on steroids?
Yes, the latter. I'd say it's very similar. It's very similar with so basically it's not, as far as I know, it's kind of a rare thing. But we've actually got two. We used to have two PE teachers on staff, and we're declared for a title part-time. You have the full-time staffers, who are the guys who do the full-time thing. They wake up in the morning, check in the office. They do go out and all the recruiting and stuff like that. So our head coach knows, he came in, I got retained from the previous staff, and, coming in and trying to fill with limited budget, super limited budget, and trying to fill coaching positions and having somebody that can be available every afternoon, and has college coaching experience. I'm thinking that what made me kind of valuable in his eyes. But yeah, so I teach in elementary school, and then we get out at 2:50. He's very understanding of our schedules, so we start practice around 4:00. Gives me a chance to drive to campus, and still, you still kind of, I don't want to say anything I'm not supposed to be. I still kind of do football work during my planning periods.
Mm-hmm.
It's not completely lights on, lights off, when you're doing, because in season you're always thinking about it, and you're still communicating with guys and with players, and putting together practice plans and things like that. But then, kind of the on steroids point is like after practice, and get into the office, maybe having some late nights, couple nights a week, and then reset and start all over.
Yeah, because I've talked to a lot of coaches that are like, they teach at high school or grade school, and then they coach at college.
Oh, nice.
I'm like that. I just talked to like two of them. Like the St. Xavier one, the offensive line coach is the same way. He's a high school teacher, and he drives over and coaches at St. Xavier part-time. And I think that's cool. I'm like, oh, it's like high school. And he goes, yeah, but you have to recruit. You have to do this. You have to do this. In high school, you just recruit the kids in the hallway. You don't have to call or, well, he said he used to travel. Now it's Zoom. So now it's all text message and Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, you don't have to do that for 2 hours when you get home at 8 or 9 o'clock at night, and then kid will go teach the next day.
Yeah, and so for me, recruiting, when I've had a lot of stops as far as where I've been teaching, trying to just get into better and better districts and counties. And when I was in between stops, our head coach Scott Yoder said, "Hey, come. You don't have a job for a semester while you're looking for a job. Come be full time, make some money." And so I was able to do that and go on the road and have that experience for 1 year. But right now it's like tonight after probably we get off this call. I'm originally from Virginia Beach, and we got a guy from Virginia Beach who's interested that our DB coach is. So I'm gonna give him a ring and stroke him a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. With Division III recruiting, do you guys like travel a lot out of state, or you just look at Virginia and the states around you like this is all we can do because Division III is a little bit smaller than Division I? So do you guys actually go all over, or is it just you have to keep local kids in local states here?
We're in Northern Virginia, so we're at the very tip, just about an hour west of DC.
Okay.
So we do hit Virginia, Maryland pretty hard, especially that DC metro area. All the surrounding counties that kind of bubble out from it. But not to say we don't also. I mean, we try to hit the entire. We do hit the entire state of Virginia.
Mhm.
We hit the entire state of Maryland. We hit slivers of places where we've been successful in Maryland. Our offensive coordinator is originally from North Carolina, so he knows where to go down there. But between Northern Virginia, Richmond, Virginia Beach area, DC metro area, we hit those probably the hardest because that's where the best football is around here for us. If you don't hit those spots, you're not going to be winning many football games on Saturday afternoons.
Yeah, and I think a misconception of Division III is it's not good football. Like I've coached kids that's Division I or bust or 1AA or bust, and it's always the seniors that say that. And then the jerk side of me is like, well, who has recruited you from Division I? Because I already know the answer. Oh, well, I've talked to so and so. I've talked to so and so. I was like, but where's the scholarship? And there isn't. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm like, what's wrong with NAIA? What's wrong with Division III or Division II? And they're just like, well, it's not on Saturdays. Like, you don't watch it. And I'm like, you guys know that Division III is really, really good. And those kids love football and they go to play. Like, I just talked to the OC yesterday from Millikan University here in Decatur, Illinois. And we were talking about that. Like, some Division IIIs have a JV level where they play. Do you guys do? Okay. Not all
Yep.
do.
No, they don't.
And I'm like, you realize you can go play football. Oh, well, they think they're all good. I'm like, no, Division III, you'll get your butt kicked because they're there to play. You don't realize that. People don't realize that about Division III. It's really, really good.
So kind of the story I tell guys who kind of are in that D1 bound, hashtag D1 bound mentality, is I kind of did it. I went to Lehigh University, which was 1AA school. Went there for 2 years. I majored in beer and women. They unfortunately didn't offer that, so they gave me the boot. And then I transferred to Shenandoah and finished my career there. And the level of, like you said, and use your term, of good football. It's all the same. You just got guys who are bigger, faster, stronger, but the rivalries are there. The pageantry's there. I mean, there's some stadiums, including our own. We're very fortunate to have very nice facilities. But there's some stadiums I've been to coaching at Shenandoah that would outdo some of the stadiums I traveled to when I was at Lehigh. I'm not going to name names. I don't want to get any sour grapes, but what are you really looking for out of your college experience? Because if it's location, we're in a tremendous location. If you have that pre-notion that the Division III is just whatever, is just, like you said, bad football. I mean, we have rivalries. We have our conference in itself has a lot of parity. We got anybody can beat anybody on any given Saturday. There's some conferences. I mean, we have juggernauts who go to the national championship every year, and it's we have a playoff. Hey, we have a playoff. You want to go to the FBS. You're not going to get that. But as just there's still this, it's still the same X's and O's. It's still the game of football everyone knows. It's just you're doing it now as a student athlete who's not getting any scholarship money, who's putting in the same amount of hours, roughly the same amount of hours, depending on who you are and where you're at. And you're still pounding your head against another man for 2.5 hours a day and playing football on Saturday afternoon. So, I mean, just getting that we are in season recruiting, getting guys onto the field in pregame, when pregame was a thing, and letting them see the electric atmosphere of a Saturday afternoon game. And it changes minds, but you just got to get them there. You got to get them out of that. I want a scholarship. I earned a scholarship. Well, some Division II schools, when they do partial scholarships, we have some tremendous financial aid packages that our admissions put together, and we actually beat partial Division II scholarships. So you're going to pay more money to go to Division II school, and so whatever. Yeah, I'm getting on my soapbox a little bit, but it's really good football all around.
Yeah, because it's about image. It's about tweeting. I got an athletic scholarship, like a Division II up here in Illinois. No offense to them. Like, I'm just trying to think of one that I know, St. Francis. It's in Joliet, Illinois. I know the wide receivers coach there, so good school. I'm not talking bad, but if it was like, look, I got an athletic scholarship from St. Xavier University instead of going to Shenandoah, because Shenandoah might say it's an academic scholarship, but that's not cool. It's not a cool thing to say. Not hashtag scholarship player, not hashtag D2. That's why coaches here, there's a lot of Division III schools in Illinois. And I respect high school coaches because they brag about their kids going D3, which helps. And I appreciate those are the coaches that have been around a while. And they praise, when a kid goes to a Division III, they praise it. And then when they play on Saturdays, they tweet about it, like, so-and-so's playing here. Now, if they have kids in Division I, they do too. I think coaches need to do that more. Not saying they don't. But I don't think every high school coach tweets about a Division III of them playing. But I do respect the Burb coaches. They do that. They brag about it, which I think helps the image.
Yep.
Like, it's not a bad image. I'm not trying to say there is, but like if there is, it helps that type of thing. And I brag. I'm like, do you know how much money you could get in academic scholarships if they really want you? Like, it can happen.
Yeah, there's when we send out, if you accept at Shenandoah University, whether you're a student athlete or just a regular student coming in, on your admission letter says this is how much merit money you start with. This is your starting point. Now let's get the FAFSA. Now let's get all this and see where you're at, and then just go with the process. Just you see the goal. I want to play college football. Let's focus on the work of making sure all our monies are in the right place, and then contrast and compare. We will never tell a kid not to not go and visit a Division II or whatever, but we want them to be a well-rounded person, but just have open options. Don't be locked into that scholarship bound mentality.
Right. Just do the research. You can look at it. If you don't like it, there's something else. Most Division III coaches I know are just like, okay, cool. I even know them that say, yeah, go to look at this school. Then like it's competitive, but they're also like, oh, you're gonna look at this school? Okay, that's fine. Like there's no ill will.
Mm-hmm.
Like Division I, you hear rumors of how competitive they are. Oh, you're going here, or you're talking bad about. Like, I've heard stories, and you don't hear that with Division III, Division II, NAIA. Like, I had a buddy that GA'd at a couple of schools for a while, and he got out of Division I because he said too much shady stuff goes on, and he didn't want to discuss it. He's like, there's just too much shadiness, business stuff that he doesn't like. It takes away from football. It takes away from what they're doing.
Yeah.
And it takes away from the kids. Like, even though they're 20 years old, 21, like it takes away from that. Like, you've got other things you're worried about. You're not worried about him.
Yeah, we got 5 full-timers and a hand less than that in part-times and volunteers. Like, we got time to pull in some shady stuff.
Yeah, like then you go to Division I where they're making thousands, if not $1 million, and you're like, can you make more? That's my thing. Can we just talk about that for a second? You could pay me $100,000, 125, 150 grand a year to coach football, and I'd be happier than picking shit.
Mm-hmm.
If people are making $1 million, you need to make more. Now, I know they base off their time and base off what they win, but a part of me is like, I'm cheap. You could pay me this much money to go be a position coach somewhere. Give that money back to the school.
Yeah, we had a guy that we follow. He was at a local university near here to us, and he was an offensive coach, and he led the country in a bunch of a bunch of stats for a couple years in a row, and he was making essentially a teacher's salary, and then he got called up. It was a at first it looked like an obscure move by this FBS school, just to hire a small school assistant. And we're talking about it, and he was like, I added an extra zero onto my salary just from going bang to bang. He's like, it's just a different world.
Yep. But then there's some places where they make more being a teacher and coaching 2 or 3 sports at a high school. I know coaches have been head Division III college coaches, and then if they pick the right high school, they make more money if they can coach 2 sports or 3 sports on top of that, and it's less pressure.
Mm-hmm.
So it's both worlds. There's some where they move that up to football stuff, they make more money, and then there's some that says, I just want to go be a teacher at a high school and I make more money with less pressure. Except now, well, then about 2 years later, they go, oh my gosh, look at this curriculum I have to deal with. I'm like,
oh yeah,
you're just replacing your pressure now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Now you got to worry about grades. You got to worry about this curriculum that you don't like. You got to worry about these meetings. And so then I asked them, well, which pressure do you miss? And they go, I don't know. Because at least football was fun. Like it was just football 24/7.
Yeah, not the new. What's the new hot teacher trend that we're going to install very quickly into our curriculum, and now go make it work. Go do it.
Yeah, or that. Oh, this year we're going to do this curriculum, but you have to let us know how it goes. They did that with the history last year when a new school I showed up to. They told the teachers, there's this history curriculum. Let us know how it goes. And like half, I remember they had meetings about it, and the teachers say it sucks. Literally, the teacher said it sucks. And the people were like, okay, well, we'll look at it. And then nothing changed.
Yeah.
Like, no, just keep trying.
Yeah, there's definitely challenges. There's definitely, just in any profession where you were trying to better, I know college students aren't kids anymore, but they're still not fully developed in their frontal cortex isn't fully there. But is that there's plenty of pressure that outside of just your immediate. I'm trying to teach this thing to you and you to master it. All the building relationships and getting to know guys and stuff like that, and then having external pressures, whatever it is, whether it's COVID or whether it's parents or whether it's injuries, all that stuff to mitigate and manage.
Speaking of COVID, do you guys get a season this year? Are you guys one of the schools that play in the spring?
So what we did, we were allowed in the fall. We did a non-competition season. It was kind of like our spring ball, Division III spring ball. We get 16 practices to do over 4 weeks. So you practice 4 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday is typically what we've done. They didn't label it as that, but felt very similar. In the fall, we were able to practice in that kind of format. We started with helmets. In Division III spring ball, it's non-padded. And we were in pods. We all checked in, tested negative. And about 2.5 weeks in, we had a bunch of positives show up. We retested, had a bunch of positive. We shut it down for a few weeks. We came back and we had to do pods of pods. So it was take our pods, and when I was coaching, so pod A for me was half the offensive line. Then they would go home and practice number 2, pod B would come in. Now pod A was split into A1 and A2, and they're doing Indy over there, and they had to be 10 yards apart, and I'd coach Indy over there and coach Indy over there, so we could still be together. So anyway, we got up to shoulder pads for the last few practices, and then it was, let's see what happens. We ended in November, and it was so the forecast now, we're actually in a really good spot. We start practice on Monday. We're going to roll it out. Campus school doesn't start back for the guys until the beginning of February 2nd, whatever that Monday is. So we're going to get a week before. typical acclimation period. Helmet, shoulder pad. It's definitely not going to be like camp like. I mean, because I'll be teaching during the day and I'll come in the afternoons. They're using camp as before grade school starts, so I'm there to be full time. But we'll get a month. Our first game will be the end of February. We're going to play a 4-game season. What we did, we split our conference in half, kind of did like the Big Ten type thing. So we're going to play our side, and then the top 2 records, we're going to do a +1 format. Top 2 records will play a 5th game. Top 2 will play a 5th game. Top 3 play a 5th game, and so on. And then that'll be it. And then we'll ramp up and give them a break, get in the summer, and get ready for August.
Yeah. The Coach Steve Show is sponsored by the Launchpad Kickoff Tee. If you're a football coach out there, high school, college, NFL, doesn't matter, and you're looking for that edge for your special teams, for your kicker, for the kickoff, onsides, you guys need to go to launchpadkickoff.com. If you have a younger guy trying to develop the kicker, you want the ball to get to the end zone, you need to go to Launchpad Kickoff Tee. This tee gives a coach a strategic options for squib kicks, onsides, everything. It is proven that your kicker will kick off farther. It is legal for NCAA, for high school. Okay. The Launchpad Kickoff Tee is a game changer. So if you go to launchpadkickoff.com/CSS to use the code CSS, you can get a Launchpad Kickoff Tee for 10% off. So go to launchpadkickoff.com/CSS. You can use the code CSS for the Coach Steve Show to get 10% off. Also, there's a bundle. You can get 1 for 10% off. You can go to 2 and get more % off, or there's an option to buy 4. If you click the option to buy the 4 kickoff tees, if you like it so much, when you use the code CSS, you'll get the 4th one free. So instead of paying full price for all 4, you'll get 3. So go to launchpadkickoff.com/CSS, use the code CSS, get 10% off, buy 4 to get the 4th one free. This is a game changer, guys. It does more than just hold your balls. Go get the Launchpad Kickoff Tee today to give your kicker an edge for next season. As you guys know, the Coach Steve Show is also brought to you by the Unhinged Sports Network. The Unhinged Sports Network is a 24-hour, 7 days a week, nonstop playing radio podcast about any sport that you guys can imagine. They have a proud partnership with Fanatics. So if you go to the link in the description, go to Fanatics, use that link, and go get some gear to support the Coach Steve Show and to support the Unhinged Sports Network. They have deals all the way up to 70% off. They have deals for free shipping, and they have every single sports team you could think of. Your college team is going to be on there. Your professional team is going to be on there. They have good deals on jerseys, T-shirts, hats, socks, anything you want. So please use the link in the description to go to fanatics.com. Save big on your team's gear to help support the Unhinged Sports Network and to support the Coach Steve Show.
Yeah, I remember last fall, people were like, you're only going to play 5 games if it happens. And now that it's here, I know for high school, I'm like, I'll play 5 games. All of those kids play 5 games. I don't care. At the time, you thought it wasn't enough. But now that we're here, you guys are going to play. We talked before recording, like we may not play high school football. But it's like, I'll take all of those kids play 5 games. As long as they get the opportunity, they don't care.
Yeah. And we just had a meeting the other day about it, offensive meeting with the coaches, and just kind of saying things. We're like, all right, well, we can't wait for, a football team after a 10-game schedule is, who they look like in week 1 and week 2 versus 9 and 10. It's like, hell, we get through week 2, half our season's gone. So how are we going to prepare for week 1 much differently than we would, faster installs, or what's important, or, not just install to say we have all these tools. It's installed to beat maybe team number 1 first, and then figure out the rest. So yeah, it's gonna happen quick. We go 1, 2 bye week, 3, 4, and then the +1.
Yeah, most coaches I've just talked to or had on the podcast, if they're offensive coaches, they said we became more simple because of the situations. Like, you can install on Zoom all you want, but it's not the same. Now I feel like installing offense is easier on Zoom than it is defense. That's just me.
Mm-hmm.
But it's funny, most offensive coaches are like, yeah, we came so simple, and then they get into practice and then get to that first game that I've talked to, and they're like, then they said their juice is ramped. They're like, oh, no, okay, now we got to do this, now we got to do this. And somebody has to pull them back and say, hold on a second. We only have like 5 more games. We don't need to be doing this, this, and this.
Mm-hmm.
We have to be more simple than we ever have been before.
Yeah, and that's what we're kind of doing. With the time is our enemy, and we were just revamping some rules for some of our run schemes. So it might not be the best against every front or every whatever pressure or movement they give us, but we're gonna make it simple so we can get it installed, get the 100 level knowledge of it in faster, and then build upon it 200 and 300 level. Kids keep it simple, stupid.
And I'm stupid simple, so that's perfect. That's kind of what happened with high school here, because I took a job in June like an idiot, but the head coach sold me on it, so I became the run game coordinator O-line. But he and I talked. It was May and June. I was like, who knew this was going to last this long? In our minds, we were just like, oh, this has got to stop eventually, right? This COVID has to
right
down. And I've seen the kids for 4 weeks total between summer and now, like in person, or 4.5. It's been tough. But we did the same thing. We're like, I'm the run game coordinator, and they said, okay, let's pick 2 plays for the run game, and that's all we're going to walk through on contact days. That's it.
Yep.
And that's all I picked. We picked 2, just rep. I went through a couple. I just did half slide pass protection, so that way they knew. And I was like, we may just go into a game with that. Is the slide protections, the big on big, and 2 run plays, and that's it. If we have a season.
Yep.
And I looked at the OC, and I'm like, are you okay with that? And he goes, one, he said we're going to have to be. And then 2, he goes, will we play faster? I was like, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's all we've got. Well, work against these fronts, like you said, is it going to work against every front? I said, no. And then call a different play. I was a jerk. I used to be an OC in high school, and I looked at it like, just call a different play then. That's what I would do. If it doesn't work, call something else.
Right. Yep.
It's funny. Now I'm going to talk about X's and O's. So I love inside zone. Now, the school I'm going to, they've had bad luck with it over the years. And no offense to the head coach, because he coached the O-line, but he was like, he didn't play O-line. He played linebacker in college. He coached defense. He coached linebacker. So he just volunteered to be the O-line coach. They had nobody, so he stepped up and did it. So when he talked to me, he goes, I need an offensive line coach. And I've done it for 12 years. And I think 9 of those years I've been offensive line. So he's like, I need a true O-line guy. So when I was coming in, I was like, can we do inside zone? Because the couple of schools I just came from, that's all we did. No, we just having good luck with it. So the cockiness in me, I was like, oh, you got me. It's fine.
Are you guys tired of overpaying for your cable? Do you think, oh, I need to go to the streaming side so I can save some money? Are you tired of taking out a small loan to pay for the cable just to watch things? There's so many streaming services. Do you not know or are having a hard time pick which streaming service? Well, lucky for you, the Coach Steve Show, which is on the Unhinged Sports Network, have a proud partnership with Fubo TV. Fubo TV has over 100 plus channels. They have NBC, CBS, Fox, ABC, ESPN, much more, without the hassle of that cable contract. If you don't believe me, go to the link in the bio. You can get a 7-day free trial today. So if you click on the link in the bio of the episode, you can get a free 7-day trial to support the Unhinged Sports Network, to support the Coach Steve Show podcast. Please use that link. Guys, it's time to cut the cord. Streaming services is where it's at. Get the internet, get the streaming service. You can, if you don't like it, get rid of it, but I think you're going to like it. That's why there's a 7-day free trial. Cut the cord. Quit taking out small loans to pay for this cable network. Please don't let these cable people trick you into getting into a 3-year contract, 2-year contract, and raising your rates. Go to Fubo TV. Best way to watch all the sports, any shows that you watch. So please support the show. Go click on the link now. Try it out for 7 days free. Cut the cord.
It's good.
No. Yeah, it was good. So then he goes, well, install ISO first, and then we'll see, because they want to be big gap, which is fine. But I love inside zone. I was like, we can do gap. I just want this. My inside zone looks like ISO, just not blocking the end. It's kind of like duo, but I don't block the end. That's my inside zone.
Backside end?
Yeah, so like if it's inside zone right, we don't hit the end. And I showed them, I said, let me draw up what my ISO looks like. So I drew it up. You want to see my inside zone? I just erased the left tackle was blocking and I moved it to the down the field. And they were like, what? I was like, so then I posted on Twitter one day. So I got interested and I said, you know Coach Banster on Twitter?
Not ringing a bell, but I might follow him.
You might see it. He's on Coach Shevers' podcast a lot doing that stuff, and he has his YouTube channel. So he pokes fun at me and says, no, that's duo, Steve. That's not inside zone.
That's where you start a fire on Twitter, Coach.
Well, I didn't. So the reason why I've ever run inside zone that way was because a couple years ago, the school I went to, that was our bread and butter. He goes, inside zone's our bread and butter, quarterback power, and trap. That's what they do. The head coach's thing was, if you don't have the athletic offensive line to go block a linebacker, he didn't want to do the traditional zone, like we're moving up the field, we're doing traditional. So the offensive line we had, he goes, I'd rather get double teams. If we get 4 yards, we get 4 yards. Eventually there'll be a cutback. We're just taking gap schemes, but then once we get to the backer, it becomes a zone concept after that. So we just did double teams, and it worked. It worked tremendously. We went 10-1. It was just bread and butter. Did it work every time? No, but like most of the time it did. So that's where I got it from. So I looked at the O-line we had and I said, we're not athletic enough. Let's do this. Well, then I was like, well, I wonder what Twitter thinks. So I drew it up on Huddle because I wasn't the only one. I said, guys, what do you call this? Duo or inside zone? What is your opinion? I should never have done that. People came out of the woodwork that I've never seen before. You had your zone traditionalists come at me. Somebody told me the running back's line wasn't drawn right that I put on Huddle, and I said, you're kidding me. And
yeah.
It's duo.
Yeah, there's some stands on both sides of the aisle that will defend. They have their concept of it, and defend it to the death. My DC used to send me that stuff all the time in jest, kind of tongue in cheek. It's like, what do you think this is? Like, my DM, I'm like, get out of here. Like, you could make the argument for either one. You don't know what the reads are. You don't know if they're numbering, if they're comboing, who the running back's looking at. Like, it could go a number of ways.
Yeah, and I said, well, to us, it was zone because we're not blocking the end, and that's our read. That's a zone read to us. And the reason why we kept calling it zone was because if I would have stayed there, let's say the next year, our offensive line is very athletic, and we felt comfortable, hey, they can get in front of that backer. Because me personally, playing O-line and coaching it, I'm like, the worst thing to do is go try to get a backer all the time. So that's just what we did. Now, if I locked it and had an insert, I was like, now you could say duo or dart or, ISO. Nope, it's duo. I was like, okay, I'm wrong. I'm wrong. Twitter people it was almost like a wing T air raid argument in that post. I was like, I'm out of this.
I did a deep dive on duo maybe like a year and a half ago because I was trying to see if it would work for our guys and get in our playbook. And it's just as whatever flavor you want. Like, you can. Who says you can't run duo and pull a quarterback? Have a quarterback, read option on it. Like, what? Why do you have to lock down the backside end? And from what I got out of it was the way I tried to make our offense fit was we would run. We had a numbering system, so like a 4-2 box, and say we're in 11 personnel. Is that essentially the offensive line blocks one way and the running back meshes the other way, and the running back's read is the second level. He's the linebacker away from the directional block that our guys in. Now, what we did, we didn't leave it. We didn't have a running quarterback. Our quarterback would get erased with a pregnant woman and come in third place. So we didn't want to let a guy run free. So we locked our tight end onto whatever his number is, and then the 0-1-2 concept, which we weren't very good at, but it never came to fruition. But that's what I got. Second level read from the running back. O-line blocks this way, running back goes this way, and the combo towards the read is, and I might botch this. If the linebacker on that side bites to the O-line's block, then will come off in combo, and the running back makes a cut off of that. if the linebacker goes away from the way the offensive line block and he's going to put his foot in the ground and go, and we're not even going to come off our block. We're just going to continue double and get separation and kind of make that linebacker fish hook. So that was my understanding.
Yeah, and the read pretty much stays the same if you don't block the end. If you make that a zone read, but he gives it to the running back can still keep the same look, actually. So in reality, it's the same. So I'm kind of right. Thank you for pointing that out, I guess.
Yeah.
But no, everybody has a different thing in duo. I've seen that, and then other people have their own, like, is that duo or whatever. And then to me, I got my ISO blocking from the OC at Illinois College a couple years ago, and the blocking looks exactly like duo, but you have the HVAC or a wing insert, and that's what their ISO was, because they're ISOing the backer. And so I'm like, oh, so it wasn't duo blocking, but it kind of was. Actually, so
Mhm.
if you're stealing reps, it looks the same, but now you've got an insert. So I just tell the lineman, like, if it's ISO right, we don't touch that backer to the right. That's the insert's responsibility. We do not double to him. Now, I don't tell them to let him run past him, but like if they do, that's the HVAC's responsibility. But we don't look at him. We're doubling to the wheel and not the mic. We're going this way. That's the other guy's responsibility. And if we really want to, we can just run dart, which ISO or dart, whatever you want to call it, have the tackle go.
Yep.
And read him. But I think we still might call that ISO to keep terminology, even though I know everybody in the world thinks it's dart.
Mm-hmm.
But I know with a new O-line coach coming in, a new head coach, if we start adding things, so if we say, all right, here's ISO, here's inside zone, here's dart, here's this, their minds are going to blow.
Yep.
If you just say, okay, ISO turtle for tackle wrapping, then they're like, oh, perfect. Now we know what you're talking about.
Yep. The more I find when an install room early in the season, the more you can say, this is similar to this play. It makes the connections happen so much faster. Like, when we're running, we're running counter and we got a single gap down on a nose guard from the play side guard. And then when we get the 10 personnel, sometimes when we run our inside zone, if we don't like our angles, we'll wrap, we'll fold it. And like, that's the same block. It's the same gap down. And then we'll just fold around and climb to the linebacker. We'll just switch responsibilities. And like, oh, okay, so I don't learn new skill sets and completely different play, but it's the same skill set.
Or like one team a couple years ago, they were running a 3-man line, and they took their backer, and we called him a mouse because he would literally stand and have his hand on the hip of the nose guard and just pick. He was like trying to hide and then go. It was kind of weird. And so instead of installing a new play, we just said, like if Zorro is your inside zone right, we just said Zorro dive. So we're triple teaming. And so to them, they're like, oh, we're not adding anything. We're just tagging something. And you guys, we're not installing. If we would have just installed dive, their minds probably would have been like, what are you talking about? But since we said zone dive, we said right tackle, you do the same thing you've always done. If he's head up to the outside, you do everything you've done. If there's nobody head up the guards, you just step in and we're triple teaming. And the left tackle, if it's right, the left tackle, you just do your normal thing.
Yep.
And then your right tackle, for some reason, he's a 4-eye for some reason. Then that guard goes back to his principal and takes him. Then the left guard can double team and get there. And so we told him, we were like, that's all the difference. If you're dive, it's just more if you're looking to triple. If it's not, everything's the same. We did that 4 or 5 times in a row. They got out of that mouse look real quick.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
I don't know if they were ready for a triple team, but it was so we saw it on film because they did it to another team. We were sitting there like, why don't we just triple him? Like, done, brilliant, we're done. That's all we got to do.
Yep, that's the greatest point in the meeting. Like, all right, we got it. We beat them on Monday.
Real quick, because and then a little bit later they tried it again and they caught us where we didn't call a dive. But then we just said, well, you got us. We have to give you props. Like, it worked. We only got 2 yards instead of 6. We're like, you got us. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Then we just call it trap. So we can get that double. And It almost became like a power. We call it trap, and the way it worked out, it just looked like a power almost. Because we wanted to trap him coming, but he went the other way, so we just told our guy to wrap.
Yep. Making adjustments.
We didn't know where that mouse was going to go. Like we just said trap right, hoping he would jump that. If he didn't, hopefully he gets washed down, and we just wrap.
There you go. Yep. Thanks. Wrong color jersey.
Yeah, and that's why I'm stupid simple. We watch, I'm like, stupid simple, and then if it doesn't work, call something else.
Yep.
Now go back to it, but call something else. So what kind of offense do you guys run over there?
So Stan Hodgins, our OC. He is a strong follower of Mike Leach and Hal Mummy, and you air raid guy too?
I love the air raid concepts. Now, if Coach Sheffer, Coach Bancher, Coach Bennett, who know they are, listen to me, they're going to say I'm lying. They call me the spread air raid guy in the group because they love their wing tee stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I just love offense. I don't care what it is. I love it. I just like the air raid concepts. I think they're very easy that you could take to a high school level and do reads. And it just speaks to me. Like I can look at it and understand it. So if I can understand it, I would think the 16-year-old can, because I have a 16-year-old mind probably. I'm 30. I think I still have a 16-year-old mind. And they're like, oh, I can understand it. So, yeah, and I just love spread offense.
Yeah, and so ROC, I mean, he does a great job. He doesn't come up in a year and be like, here's the playbook we're going to run. We're going to make it happen no matter what. We take a look at our personnel. We see who we're going to be. We're dabbling with more, with getting into a more 11 personnel, and we can still run air raid concepts at 11 as long as we got that that H back that can do it. Run game, very typical 11 personnel. Counter, inside zone, outside zone, pin and pull, trap. All the basics. But we've been very fortunate to have some really, really good guys who can spin the rock a little bit. We've been top in the country every year across all levels, any division, in passing yards per game. And that's a very that takes a lot of moving parts to get things right. And what I'm referring to is things like ball and hand time for our quarterback. We base a lot of our protections off of that. How much we're allowed to, how much we can give, how much firm can we be, because we know how long quarterback needs to get it out. And, run game, we're building. We're working our way up. We've got some tremendous guys coming back this year. A lot of good leaders. But I mean, we're known for the people in our region, and we throw the ball a lot. But we're going to establish a really tough run game this year. We got some good road graders that are going to step up to the challenge this year.
Now, did you just say run game with air raid? There's people out there just falling out of their chair. They're like, hold on.
I know, and there's been years where we've, I won't tell you which year because I love everybody I coach, but there's been years where like, please run just 3 steps, please, because we can't move anybody, we can't protect, just get the ball and get it out. It makes me look really good.
Yeah.
And there's been times, I mean, we've broken our conference record for most passes in a game. We've also broken our conference record for most run attempts in a game. Because there was a year where we got in 10 personnel. We had a stud, shifty running back, and we ran inside zone, and nobody could stop it. It went 83 attempts, I think, was the record. I think we ran 83 times in a game. And I mean, it was so we mold. We might look the same. We might look we're not going to come out exotic formations. We're not going to be double tight 22 personnel with a fullback in the backfield. We're going to be who we are on the outside, but what we run is going to fit our athletic type. If we got a guard that can't pull very well, we're not going to call him any power counter and traps. Just as a kind of a micro point. Pulling a center. We're going to have a big, guy can't move. We're going to have a mobile, skinnier center, so we can now insert plays that a center pulls. Stuff like that. So we're not force feeding. We have the schemes to choose from on the shelf. We're picking the right ones for who we are. So
yeah. No, and more coaches need to do that instead of forcing this. Like, we're new coach, new program. We're focusing on what can they do, not what can't they do.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, you're going to coach it if you know deep down it's not working. But like you said, if powers are a thing that we want to do, but we just don't have the guys that pull very good, you're not going to call a lot of it. Or you're going to adapt. Like, I love skip pull. We may have to adapt the pulling if they can't do it. Now I'm going to go in there and say skip pull, skip pull, skip pull, because I want the linemen to be square and see where they're going.
Mm-hmm.
And don't lose ground to get ground or by any means. I know it's not the right way to put it, but it just looks that way. Now you said 83 times in a game. Are you guys an up-tempo air raid, or are you like a Mike Leach where it's so simple it just looks up-tempo? Because Mike Leach is not up-tempo, but like he calls it so quick.
Yeah, that's kind of that. Keep it simple. We can tell everybody what to do in 2 words.
Okay.
And even sometimes we package things together where we know, okay, we're gonna run a 3 package inside zone. Then we're run 3-step slant, and then we're gonna run 5-step verticals, and we'll call that Cindy. And you hear Cindy, you know what 3 plays we're gonna run. And so we have the ability. We're by no means do we snap the ball every 18 seconds. We have the ability to in times to speed up. We're no huddle. I don't know if that's obviously or not, but we're no huddle. We signal, we verbalize, we got the picture boards. And so we give guys the opportunity to get the information fast and let them process and communicate. So up to answer your question, up tempo, kind of when we want to be, when we need to be.
Because Drew Piscopo is on Twitter. He's a big Mike Leach. Not a disciple, but he does everything Mike Leach does. And it was years ago, and people kept talking about air raid being up tempo, and they said, "You realize Mike Leach isn't up tempo?" He said this. He goes, "If you look, his signals are just so quick, and his plays are so simple. He can just call it and they go. They're not running to go up tempo. It's just they know the plays. Like you guys, everybody's seen him call plays. He might go 92 and he's done. Like ace 92, and it's done." I'm not saying that's the play, but I'm just thinking like, how would he do it? And
so yeah, they get the quarterback. If it was a quarterback, and we've experimented different ways on how to communicate. So we've done it that way before, where it's a quick signal quarterback, and the quarterback's in charge of communicating with everybody. So then quarterback knows what protection is based off of that. So now I'm going to verbalize to the offensive line. Here's the protection. We use our offensive line. Our offensive line decides where the slide and man and who's big on big, depending on what they hear. So they get the call from the sideline. Quarterback verbalizes to the offensive line, and then whatever he needs, if he wants to tag anything, if he sees something, he sees, oh, I got press coverage on the outside receiver over there. Guess what? You're running a vertical and you're getting the ball. And however they communicate that, so it's kind of like a sight adjustment for receivers, but it's pre-snap. We look at the numbers, we look at the angles, we look at, every play has so many different things you can do with it that everything's so versatile. And that's kind of where we lay in that air raid is very simple words that can look different at different times, and just try and have the ability to be fast.
And I really like seeing quote unquote air raid be multiple. And what I mean by that is getting 11 personnel or even an HVAC involved, because I love that, because it gives you the opportunity to dabble and run, and some dabble in RPO and they just take the quick game and that's their RPO. So if they want to run stick, they just make an RPO out of it. So they're not adding anything; they're just tagging that run.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if you got a decent tight end, which is hard to come by, but if you got a guy with his hand in the ground, run stick, or if you want to run Mike Leach's option, where it's originally stick and he whips it back out, or Y cross coming off the line because they forget about him.
Yep. He's really, it's hard. He gets lost really quick. And I remiss. Coach Hodgman would kill me if I didn't mention screen game. We're a huge screen game. Get the ball in the athlete's hands as fast as possible and let them work. Makes our jobs a lot easier.
Now, you mentioned you guys run wide zone. That's all the rage the past year and a half. That's all you see is wide zone. So how would you teach wide zone? Because I'm very interested. I've dabbled in it a little bit. And this is no offense to where the coaches I came from, I think it was just the personnel they had. They kind of had the alignment open all the way up and move, which was fine. I think that's just the personnel. Then I just talked to another coach from Georgia, and he was telling me how you take steps and get your hips pointed that way, not the shoulders. It's more about the hips pointing. So wide zone to me, I love it, but I'm like, I've seen many ways where if there's a guy to your right, that's your guy. You have to get there, move your hips, go. Then I've seen one when you're blocking, you just pass him off if you see another guy. So it's like passing off, and that worries me a lot. At the high school, like that worries me to death.
Yeah. And that's probably that 300 level of outside zone, the wide zone. We teach it. We teach cylinders. So from my nose to his nose. And we teach it on your third step, you're going to know who you're blocking. So we do, depending on angles and techniques of where the defensive linemen are, we will open up and lose ground. It's the same mentality as far as who we're getting as inside zone, but obviously we're not doing this. We're doing this. So we'll capture the butt cheek of the guy. Well, let's say if I'm covered, I got a guy on me. I'm a guard and a 3 technique. I'm aiming toward play side number. I'm gonna take him where he wants to go. If he wants to be lazy, but also what I got to know is, do I have help coming? If I don't have help coming, and I reach him and he's my man in my zone, I'm gonna turn my shoulders and old school reach him. If he wants to turn and run with me, that's fine. I'm just gonna get that inside cuff and ride you out. Now, if I know I've got help and you got a slow 3 technique, if I got the guard and center and I'm opening and going and the center's getting on my butt cheek right here, then if that guy's slow and unathletic or just didn't get off the ball or bad read, now I'm reaching a 3 technique with a center and I got a bonus blocker on the edge. Now he's just looking for, his guy's taken care of. He's looking for next wrong color jersey at the next level. When you get closer to the edge with the tackles and tight ends, it's more patient type block. Obviously you can't, with a tackle and a 5, you can't jump around him and read him. Then he's just going to walk up the field and, knock your running back's teeth out. You're more methodical about being hurry up and wait, get to that number. You're not allowed to just pass him off. You're gonna engage, and he's your guy. So as long as he doesn't spike inside right at the snap, you're going to stay on him. And the Ys and the tight end and the tackle have a great communication where, I'm going to help. I'm gone because I got an immediate alley threat. You're by yourself. I don't have an alley threat. I'll let the Ys help and just kind of pound their feet through it and find next most dangerous man. So we do give up a little ground, but it's more the covered, uncovered rules. Know where your help's coming. And on your third step, you're going to know who you're blocking. So if I'm covering the butt cheek of the guard and he's stretching with the 3, 1, 2, 3, all right, you're gone now. I'm up to the next level. So I'm going to take the whatever backer shows play side.
Yeah, because I've seen where like if the guard has somebody head up him, but there's maybe a guy head up the tackle, they kind of want that guard to go to the tackle spot. They're aiming for the outside shoulder, and then the center has to take over and get there. But that even scares me. A part of me is like, you know what? At that point, it's just a double team, in my opinion. But I'm stupid. But I'm like, in my opinion, tackles running wide zone stuff, those guys need a double team and go. Now, if the guy was, outside shade of the guard, then he aims, center can come up, that pass off thing, that scares me.
Mm-hmm.
That's Alabama stuff. I'm like, no, that's not what we're thinking about. Then talking to another coach, how we've adapted blocking, because we said back in the day, maybe you taught duck walking, and he's like, now when you teach zone, it's more about running your feet. So like you said, it's getting there quick, and by that third step, and your feet has to be underneath of you too. on wide zone. You can't be wide. It's kind of shoulder width. Once that inside foot is planted, you can push off and get them up where you want to go with that hand to push them up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Something about wide zone just freaks me out. And you wouldn't think that. Like, I just love inside zone trap power. But wide zone just, I don't know if I've seen the wrong things. It just kind of is like.
Well, just horizontal separation. Don't worry about. Of course, we want to get push. We want to get vertical push, but getting horizontal separation. You got a 5 technique that's widening out, and you got a slow 3 technique who has been now reached by a center. That B gap is massive. Or if we cap both of them, you got a slow 3 and 5, or you got guys that a 3 and 5 that run. Then now A gap is massive, and you just stick your foot in the ground and go. It just creates. It takes a certain type of back. We figure that out. We know guys we put in the field like this is our inside outside zone guy, and this is our gap concept guy who can read those type of blocks better. If you have a head, so you're saying a head up 2 and a head up on the tackle, like a 4.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Play with splits too. That's you're talking to a 14-year-old kid trying to get him to learn that. But if it's you got a 2 and a 4, move the guard down. Depending on personnel, move the guard down closer to the center. Tell the tackle, this is a rule breaker. We get this front. You're locked on the 4. If he spikes, he's yours. Or vice versa. Move the guard and tackle down and say, all right, listen, because you're not going to end up 2 guys in the same gap. But that 4 spikes in the B, that your 2 technique is going to disappear. So it's going to sort itself out, go in front side. And if they try to TE, they're going to get the guy who's looping back inside is going to get lost in the sauce anyway. But and depending, like, again, personnel, if you got a tackle you trust, a guard that you trust, or vice versa, you don't trust them, or they're not quick off the ball, well, always have. We had a big center one year. He wasn't the best at outside zone, and he'd get pissed off at the guard because he'd have a 2-eye, and the guard would be a 4-foot split. He's like, get, I'm never going to get to him. Get down here. So, stuff like that. And don't ever underestimate the depth, getting your depth of your guard and tackles away from the ball. Make sure their helmet's on the belt of the center. I don't know if high school rules are the same as that, but we make sure we get depth. Give us time and space and opportunity.
Yeah, I remember that happened one time when I'm talking about they get the 2 and the 4. And I told myself, if this happens, you're base blocking him, and you guys are doubling towards that area. So if for some reason guy knifes in, the guard picks him up.
Mm-hmm.
And then the moment you tell them rule breaker, then they want to break it again later on. And you're like, well, hold on. I told you just when this happens, this is what you do. And then I think another thing was, like you were talking about, say there's a 3 tech and the guard aims for him, but that guy's knifing in. I told the guards, if he knifes in, you're just wash him down because the center might be up the field somewhere or something. Or like you said, if you're blocking him and then they start to knife in and you kind of churn and block him in, take him where he wants to go, essentially. I'm explaining it wrong. Take him where he wants to go. So if he starts to go in and you block him in, the running back should see the helmet and just immediately cut up,
Mm-hmm.
I think that was kind of a hard thing of like telling them, like, take him where he wants to go, and then, well, wait a minute, we're passing off. Isn't there supposed to be like a center, or is there supposed to be a guard behind me? That was because it was new. So it's like, okay, you got to rep this. And then it was getting the running back to see, like, yeah, wide zone doesn't mean you're always going to go to the sideline. If you see the center's ass churn, or the lineman's ass, you got to go up.
Mm-hmm.
You only get 4 yards or 3 yards, but you have to do that. Eventually, they're going to keep going, and then you can cut right behind.
What's really helped us in practice, past 2 years we've done is just in small, get the running backs over there. You can play quarterback, whatever, and go guard, tackle, tight end, and then give them any combination of the down lineman, and inside linebacker. So it's 3-on-3, and you're doing the traditional, all right, defense, you're here, and now you do this, and he's going this way, and blitz here, and figure it out. Run. And they're gonna make mistakes. And something else too, like when we mesh at 4.5 yards for outside zone. So a little bit of penetration isn't sinful. It's not that we have to get the vertical. It's more capturing the guy and getting him to move horizontally. But doing small group 3-on-3 and just letting them fail and just saying, oh, well, if I did this, and combo the way I was supposed to, they start picking up a little quicker. Other than just because I used to do just a lot of indie, like 2-on-2. Let's get a bigger small group. Let's get more people involved. So because there's so many moving parts that could happen.
I think sometimes that's overlooked once in a while, being the running back. You can do cones and move that. That's great, but nothing beats seeing the actual line in front of you. Like, this is what really is going to happen. And I think that gets overlooked. Because with you guys, with air raid, how do you distribute running back time with that and passing? Because running backs and air raid are really highly involved.
Yes. It's just careful planning. We have in season, we'll have days where what's our emphasis? What are we deficient at? What do we need to work on? If today is like a 4 vertical day and the running back's just running swing passes as a hot route outlet, and he doesn't have to spend 45 minutes over there. He can spend 15 minutes of 7-on-7 working on it, and then come over with us. And so we've never really struggled divvying it up because we still have an inside run period. We'll have a pod period. We'll have against scouts. We'll go 11-on-11, good on good for situational football and stuff. So they still get the reps. I mean, they'll still, and the running backs will still be over on their indie time, not catching balls, just working traditional running back stuff.
So is there any like special or favorite O-line drills that you do personally? Like, this is my favorite, this is what we do, this is who I am, this is who we are, to share with any of my high school O-line coaches that listen?
Sure, let's see.
I know I put you on the spot. This isn't Coach Sheffer. I just put you on the spot here.
Well, we've really come very far in our pass protection. And we see in our conference, we see a lot of bull rushes, a lot of square ends, and we talk pressure hopping, which is a skill used at all levels. And basically what it is you're redirecting his forward momentum up, and then absorbing the rush until he can't rush anymore. And so we talk technique. It might not be less of a drill, but more of a thing we drill to get to. Once we realize that it's going to be a bull or a square in, that we fit hands under armpits, we try to lock them out, and we get in the most uncomfortable position possible. We duck our feet out as far as we can. We bow our knees in, our back, is like this, like our head's up here and our feet are down here, like we're super bowed out, and that's kind of absorbing it. And every time and while he's driving, I'm using that to my hips to lift him up to slow him down. I'll have guys do it. I'll be like, all right, I want you to fit up. I want you to drive him into the dirt, on Indian stuff like that. Drive him into the dirt and push him. And you do the proper pressure hop technique, and then all of a sudden the power's gone. They have nothing left in them. And then stuff, they try to snatch you and all those things to counter that. But definitely a pressure hop, because a lot of guys, because they hit the bull, they hit the back pedal like a DB, and there's nothing good comes out of that. Also with pass, we call it Texas Tech because our coach got it from Leach. And it's usually helmets off. It's O-line versus O-line. We'll put 5 guys up. We'll give them a protection, stand behind, and give them the point. It's 70%, no more than 70% effort. But what I'm looking for is body position, getting your feet where they're supposed to be, watching your head where it's looking. And, even though our defense is just jogging through gaps, with their blitzing or twisting and stuff like that. And it just works on, pass protections from the ground up. So it works on their feet and then their body and then their hands and their eyes and all that. And so that one is almost an everyday drill for us. In run game, we're starting to talk about strain a lot. And over the year, I've been trying to define what strain is. When you hit a sled and the sled and you're rolling, the 5 guys are going, that's a drive block. But when 2 forces meet and the stalemate, that stop, how do you beat it? And that's, we're talking with strain. So we're doing drills where they're caught in this position where their feet have either decelerated or we're not making any more progress forward. And this is accelerating the feet, rolling the hips, marrying the hips and elbows, and just feeling that, crushing the walnut between your butt cheeks, just go and strain through. So other than that, I mean, we do, like I said, we have screens, we screen. We do a thing called cage drill. It's nothing fancy. We'll put like a 5x5, maybe 4x4 box over here, put one of our offensive linemen in it. And then we'll start here for like our jail screens where we're going to kick out the alley guy. So he'll go through his setback 1001 and then rip down the line of scrimmage. And then we'll have the guy standing in the box. He'll either play it high where we'll have to climb our hip to shield him so he can't loop because the running back's coming right off our butts. Or if he plays low, then we'll make him fish hook it the long way. And just repping that, some of these guys, when they're coming in, they've never been in space like that. So they don't know how to move. They just used to play in the telephone booth and they're really good at it. So just building functional drills that you want to see on tape.
Yeah, being an O-lineman, we don't like to run. We don't run.
No.
Like trying to walk on in college, they taught us to cut block without touching them. So we're running out there and then we dive at their feet and just roll on the ground like, oh, we tripped. And you roll in front of that. You roll in front of that defensive player, and they have to stop or jump over you. And that's all we wanted because you couldn't cut them.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like, oh, I tripped. And how you taught that was the guy be holding the bag, and you have to roll into the bag. And then when you got out there, then you rolled. Because they tried to make me a tight end in college, and I'm like, that's enough. I don't run.
Yeah, that's too much.
I was too small to be a lineman.
Mm.
They wanted 320-pound guys. 300-pound guys, and I was 265 at the time, and they're like, nope, tight end. Oh, so I have to run.
Yeah, routes and 7-on-7.
Yeah, I said I could catch a ball if I'm playing catch with somebody, and it's right in this circle. Or I can kind of one-hand catch, but it has to be in my circle, and my vertical is like this high. So
Yep.
It's got to be that. If it's over the shoulder, if it's coming off a slant, nope. I knew my limitations.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Let's just say that didn't last very long. Steve had no fun anymore. Like I couldn't even turn on TV and like enjoy football. I just didn't like it. That's where the point was.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, let's go coach, and I've been doing it since I was 18. I was like, let's do that.
That's awesome.
Now I'm 30. I've been doing it ever since. So I'm like, let's just do that. And this might be the first freaking year I don't coach football without being my own will.
Yeah, right.
Can we just all agree that coaches should be in charge of states?
I think we would come up with a quicker, comprehensive plan that we could all agree on and have with keeping safety in mind and using, assumed risk.
Yeah, I say this to almost every person. I'm like, a coach needs to run the states. And the first time I ever said, they said, why? I said, what do we tell our players? No matter what level, we work together, play together, and we will get towards a common goal. And then as coaches, what do we do in the off season when we don't know something, or even in the season when we don't know something? We call people, we text people, we message people. How do you do this? Or what do you do with this? We go to clinics to get better. If a coach ran the state, we'd all work together and say, okay, guys, each state's a little different, but let's work on this. And then like Illinois could call Indiana and say, well, how'd you guys do this? What do you think about this? What about
Novel
this?
concept.
Yeah. And it would be like, we could do that. And then we could make tough decisions. Don't dangle the carrot, like don't kick the can. We wouldn't do that. So I think football, basketball, volleyball, I don't care. Some coach needs to be in charge. Even as president, I don't care. Not to get too political, but those are the best two we could come up with. Can we get Nick Saban?
We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Nick Saban for president next time.
Hey, there you go.
Or Paul Johnson. Let's get Paul Johnson up there. Or The Rock. Okay, Coach, I took a lot of your time. I know you got to recruit here probably soon. Sorry for no script.
No, you're all good. This was awesome.
So I really, really appreciate. I know you got to go recruit. I had the OC last night from Milliken, and then we were about done. He goes, "Yeah, Steve, I got to go get a recruit going, so we got to stop."
Yeah, we'll call this Virginia Beach kid up.
Yeah, go get that recruit. So I really appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely.
Everybody out there listening, stay safe, wear your mask, wash your hands, so we can all get back to normal at some point. So thanks everybody for listening. I'll see you guys next time.